The President's program this year mirrors by and large what the previous two sessions at the UN General Assembly have been, his visits to the General Assembly. There are at least three components that are key to note. One is obviously the formal program of the General Assembly, which commences on the 12th of September, that's next week, Tuesday. And that program of the UN would run until the 28th of September. Of course, the President is not going to stay the full length. He will depart on Sunday, the 10th, and then he would have concluded his formal engagements on the 22nd of September, and then return towards the end of that weekend. So that's the formal program of the United Nations. That's a 2-week-long program. Then, to justify the investment that is being made, to visit the United Nations, which every world leader does every year, the President then has the second set of engagement, and that's predominantly with the business sector. There will be at least 35 Namibian business persons that would be accompanying the President. These business persons are not catered for by the state in any manner. They pay for their own accommodation, flights, everything. But these are people that are dedicated to growing their own businesses and form part of the President's delegation. What is important to note is that a lot of these business people are not attending or traveling with the President on this particular trip for the first time. They have done so for the last 2 years, most of them. And a lot of it has to do with these individual companies and their leaders doing follow-ups with those that they have met in the past, but also exploring other new opportunities. President will, as part of those engagements, also travel next door to New Jersey and engage with the New Jersey Chamber. They have organized the business fraternity there to be addressed by the President, and the Namibian business delegation that travels with him would be part of those proceedings. He would, whilst he's in New Jersey, also address Rutgers University, which is a state university in New Jersey State, next door to New York State. So he combines addressing the academic fraternity and fielding questions from the academics, students, and so forth, with a business visit to that state. The governor of that state, and specifically the Secretary of State for Agriculture for New Jersey, has a particular interest in Namibian beef. Last year, the President had given the Secretary of State of New Jersey for Agriculture an audience where the discussions had reached a certain level, where the state is absolutely pushing us to ensure that Namibian beef should be on their shelves in their shops and their restaurant menus. This visit would further cement that. We hope that MIDCO and the other agencies of state that are aimed at promoting Namibian beef around the world would be ensuring that we close these loopholes, because the government has done its part, which is open up the doors.
Right. How big is the delegation? And some pockets of society will maybe asking the question, well, given the economic situation that we are in, is it really wise to take as much people?
Yeah, I think maybe we need to just, by way of basic education, go back to planning and how organizations and how governments plan their activities. There are specific budgets allocated for specific activities. The fact that there is an economic downturn does not mean that we should stop running the country, that we should stop promoting the country. There are budgets allocated for that purpose. What you would have seen in the last year is the fact that President has not undertaken any European tour since the beginning of this year. That's for certain. This is his first major international trip outside of Southern Africa, and at most recently to Kigali. He's attended the AU meeting in January. But most of the engagements where he would have gone, those were cancelled, partly in consideration of the fact that countries going through what we've just come out of, and there was a need to control expenditure. We have, if you look at most of the government departments, most of the S&T bills and travel bills have been halved, and so cost control is not something that we are too worried about because I think we've done pretty well. But what cannot stop is the fact that we have a country to run, we have mouths to feed, we have roads to build, we have infrastructure to build. Those things don't happen while we fold our hands and sit at home and wait for people to come. You'll have to go to their doorsteps. And whilst the president uses a trip to the United Nations, which all of the leaders of the world undertake, he doesn't just go there, sit in his hotel room and say, well, I'm going to make my speech, spend the money, and turn around and come back. He uses this to do all of the other promotional work. So this trip is important. To your question around delegation lists and so forth, I don't think the size matters so much. You should be asking the question, the ministers that will be accompanying the president, do they have specific functions whilst they are in the United States, especially in New York? Absolutely. The Deputy Prime Minister and our Minister for International Relations is part and parcel of, yes, that's her job. She has to do this, so it's her function. And President is the chief diplomat of the country. She deputizes him, is assigned by him on a lot of these types of trips. The Minister of Environment and Tourism, again, if you look at the broader, the UN agenda, if you look at the program of events, there are specific things that him, the minister responsible for local government, she herself has a series of engagements that she'll be involved in. Similarly, for both the Minister of Economic Planning and Minister of Mines and Energy. A detailed look at what other side events are taking place would have informed the president who are the cabinet ministers that should accompany him. Because otherwise, without that justification, the president doesn't just say, oh, well, you, follow me. So these people have work to do. And then as requests come, remember, whilst we're there is requests for bilateral meetings. And a lot of those bilateral meetings are specific from other heads of state to our head of state, where the request could be an interest in energy and so forth. President, yes, will host his counterpart, but at a technical level, the minister responsible would participate in that meeting. And so there's a whole myriad of requests we have. And therefore, those accompanying him do specific work. And also, what is important to note is that not everybody that accompanies the president stays the full length of the president's stay in New York. They will go. Once they've done what they need to do, they return home and return to base.
Yeah. Last